I was an amateur for 10 years and I had never planned on being a professional. I say all the time, if you would have told me at 18, 25, even 27 that I was going to be a professional photographer, I would have not believed you. I had no intention of this career at all. I just told my boss I wanted to quit. I felt like I needed to leave my job, and I decided I was going to be a professional photographer. There was no business plan. I had a website because I was a website project manager. I had a business checking account because my dad was an accountant. But no business plan, no mentor, no training. I had never been photographed in a studio. I had never even been in a professional studio. I had a used camera from eBay, and I had a love for the craft. And I remember crying that weekend because I had been working for 10 straight years and putting myself through school and hustling and doing the corporate ladder. And for some reason at that moment in time, I left it all behind.
I worked for McDonald's and paid my graphic designing fees. So I joined as a crew.
Okay.
And then got promoted as a hostess. And McDonald's really molded me and, gave me that foresight and, following standards, following systems. So then we were in the LSM department. And I think that really gave me the confidence of, talking to people, the customer care, and, that gave me a little idea about brand and all because, we were trained in certain way. I'm trained by Germans, Americans, Australians, and like made in India. I also used to, art direct corporate films and things like that. And we used to go for offsites, and my boss was very fond of taking us to exotic places, and I used to be the camera person, and I used to love taking portraits and solos and all. So at work, when we used to download the folders, like everybody needed Falguni's folder. In the whole process, I'm a graphic designer by profession.
Hello and welcome to Buck Studio and a Brandt. Welcome to our studio, and it is not even numero uno. It is the second time that you're here
Yes.
to our wonderful studio, and you've just finished your workshop.
Yes.
How has it been for you?
Well, India is always very welcoming. We actually told the hotel this morning that out of the 46 countries I've been to, they had the best customer service we had ever seen ever in the world. And they were super proud. Like, when are you coming back, to this hotel? And it's true. It's true because we didn't like I didn't like the chicken. I am not kidding. They called the room maybe 5 times, and then in the morning they were apologizing, and then we had a gift, and we just kept telling them it's okay. And during breakfast they came like 3 times to make sure it was okay. They sent us home with these macaroons. And I was like, wow, I have been all over the world, and India gets A+++ for hospitality. Falguni has been so hospitable since the day I've met her. And so I do notice this country is as overwhelming as it is with the number of people. I will not lie. When I first came here, I was like, no, too many people. But very respectful and very hospitable, and I admire them.
Thank you so much for that because, yes, we always find and we always say so, Atiti Devo Bhava, and that's how it is. In English, we mean that a guest who comes to our country is as good as a god-like person for us. So that hospitality for how you honor a god is going to be in that manner. Always. It has to be A-class. It has to be full of warmth. It has to be full of love. Now, that's how you look at your God. That's how you look at your higher we.
Sure.
Right? So that's the way we are. So thank you.
The box, that's very impressive because I don't really know many cultures that are like that. The US could learn a thing or two.
Let me add that. So when I met her first, so you know how we honor our guru. So she had no clue of what I was doing. So I anyways asked, can I do something to the person who had organized? And I touch her feet and then we put the shawl. And she's like, no one has ever touched my feet. And year after year we have done. She found it very overwhelming, but then I explained her the meaning of what it means when we touch feet.
And this is part of our way of honoring the Guru.
Yes, I think that's amazing.
So, Falguni, welcome. It's because of you that we have her here, and the Indian photography industry is getting to understand what it is to make it A class. So, yes, welcoming both of you. Anna, I would like to begin with you to understand from you. Give me a gist about your story in your own words. You can take 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Goodness. I always hesitate when someone asks me this question. I'm like, do I give the short version, the long version?
You give your version from your heart. I can prompt. I have all the pointers.
You know, I was an amateur for 10 years and I had never planned on being a professional.
Okay.
I say all the time, if you would have told me at 18, 25, even 27 that I was going to be a professional photographer, I would have not believed you. I had no intention of this career at all. I was an amateur photographer since I was a teen. I'm adopted, and I say that one of the driving forces of my photography is, of course, my adoption story. I didn't go into the home with family photos. I entered their home with nothing but the clothes on my back. And so I struggled for years with just self-identity, understanding who I was as a Puerto Rican woman being raised in a mixed household and not knowing that much of my biological family. And it was very difficult because what I learned growing up is if you don't have a visual memory or a visual representation of where you've come from or your family's come from, it's hard to know where you're going.
Yeah, totally.
And I think people don't understand that. And it was difficult. And I think what saved me is the parents that adopted me. My mother, I recently lost my mother and my father, and I will always speak very highly of them because they are the reason I'm here today. But my mother had 2 master's degrees, one in psychology and one in divinity. Those are very interesting degrees. In her craft, she was known as a biblical scholar. She did become an ordained minister, which at the time, mind you, she passed 3 years ago at 88. So go back even further, 40 years ago, women weren't becoming ordained ministers. They also, white women weren't marrying Latin men 60 years ago. She was Norwegian. My dad was from Argentina.
Okay.
Norwegians weren't adopting brown children. So she broke a lot of stereotypes. And she was the type of woman that when all 5 of us were behind her and people would ask her, are these all your children? She would look them dead in the eye and say, yes.
That confidence.
That confident. And, it was a very strict upbringing, very strict, and a lot of rules. But she was always very consistent in her message that she loved me. So regardless of my behavior, what I did or didn't do, even if I was in trouble, she would just say, I love you. And I remember, years later, when my kids were driving me crazy, I was like, how did you raise 5 children and not murder them? Mom, murder us. And she said something that I'll never forget. She said, my children's successes and failures were not mine. Meaning, if we were naughty, that wasn't her being naughty, that was us being naughty. And if we were successful, that wasn't her success, that was ours. Her job was to raise us regardless. So when my kids would misbehave or I would just look at them like, oh my gosh, I would have to take a breath like, okay, that was their decision. How do I guide them? And, every day she's my motivating factor. And the photography, I wish I had an answer. I was interviewed by a podcast company in Australia years ago, and they were like, how did this happen? And I'm like, I wish I knew. All I can tell you is I was an amateur. I was doing my thing, working, going to school, loving photography. At 29 years of age, I moved from New York to California. No. Yes, New York to I always reverse that. New York to California to get married. Had not lived with him before, so 2 moving trucks brought us to California. And then went and got married in Arizona, and then went to Mexico for a honeymoon. And that was the first time I had ever even left the country.
Oh, really?
So the fact that I've been to 46 countries, I don't even know how that happened. And I was working, doing my job, and one day, through a conversation, I just told my boss I wanted to quit. I wish I knew exactly why, except to tell you that at that moment in time, I felt like I needed to leave my job, and I decided I was going to be a professional photographer. There was no business plan. I had a website because I was a website project manager. I had a business checking account because my dad was an accountant, and he always said, write everything off, whatever you're doing. But no business plan, no mentor, no training. I had never been photographed in a studio. I had never even been in a professional studio. I had a used camera from eBay, and I had a love for the craft. And I remember crying that weekend because I had been working for 10 straight years and putting myself through school and hustling and doing the corporate ladder. And for some reason, at that moment in time, I left it all behind.
And that decision is so tough. But
yes,
you took it.
Within minutes of me saying to my boss, I wanted to talk to you. And that was it. And he just looked at me like, why are you leaving? Why are you quitting? What do you mean? And I just left.
So he's trying to process, and here you are already decided that, okay, I need to move on.
At that moment, I was going to work at home that weekend because I was shooting child models on the side. And because I was a web designer and project manager, I had a corporate client in Newport, and my model client was in Newport. So it was like both worlds were colliding at the same time. And I just made a comment like, I'm going to work at home that weekend. And he was like, no, you can't do that. We need to see you or something. And I was like, you don't need to see me. I'm contract. I can work at home. It's just one of those conversations. Well, let's talk about it, Anna. Let's go up to the conference room. And I remember just getting up to the conference room and going, I think I'd like to leave. And he was like, wait, what? No, you can work at home. Like, what? He just didn't understand because it wasn't a fight. It wasn't an argument. It was just this moment. And from that moment on, just step by step.
You've not looked back.
Not once.
Anytime now while you're narrating the story, does it come to your head that decision changed the trajectory for your life completely?
100%. When I was doing that podcast with this Australian team, she said, oh, you were at Saturn Return. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? And I later Googled Saturn, what is Saturn Return? That there's several points in someone's life where the planets align, something about your birth. I don't even know. I'd have to Google it again. And she had said that at one of those times is around 29 or 30. And she said everybody will experience this at different times in their life.
Okay.
Sometimes it's 50, 60, you see people getting divorced later in life. Or it's when something happens in your life that has to do with this amazing world we live in. And you are at a point where you need to make a decision. And what's interesting about this podcaster is she tells me everybody feels it at some point, but very few people listen to the call.
Yeah. And then take an action.
Correct. And that's all I can explain. And, even my siblings, when I'm the youngest of 5 in my adopted family, they still sometimes look at me and they're just like, we don't even know who this person is sometimes, because I was the young one. I wouldn't go eat at a place by myself. I was always behind 4 siblings. I wouldn't travel the world by myself. I'm very introverted, very quiet. I'm not social by any means at all. My sister is a social butterfly. She talks to the whole town. She's very extroverted. I'm very introverted. And so if you talk to my family, they're like, Anna's in her room. Anna's by herself. Anna's reading. I was the quietest one and still am at the table. And so they sometimes look at me like, we don't know how this happened. And all I can say is I try to listen to the voices that guide me, and I just go.
And now they'll be surprised to see her podcast, where she is sharing her life with us. And they'll be feeling that, oh my God, there are so many layers to this woman that we know as our family person.
No, it's, when my mom passed, I went up to speak, and I was the last one to speak, and I was barely standing because I was just distraught, barely sobbing and trying. And I remember when I was done looking around, and all my siblings are crying. And my siblings, they're not criers. I'm the crier. And some of the childhood friends, literally everybody was just looking at me. And one of my brother's friends that have known me since I was like 5, he looked at me and he's like, "You should have a podcast." And my brother's like, "She has one." And he was like, "Who are you? I've never heard this version." And my brother was like, "Yeah, it's all new to us too. We don't know who this is either." But they started listening to my podcast. And we actually recorded a podcast at my sister's home, and I sent it to her, and she just was like, "Wow." And it's just from an amazement. They're very proud, and they've said nothing but positive things, but even they don't know how it happened.
Yes, so they generally say that people with a decade or 2 decades of experience that they have, the individuality is evolved and transformed with the kind of experiences that you have, that even your family members and all of them, they just feel that, is that you? And how do we, understand that how your personality has moved on for so long? But I do feel to quite an extent, it's got a lot to do with your profession and your career. Does it bring about a new you? So now I'm moving to the segment in terms of how the profession has just inorganically come to you 10 years into website, and just suddenly deciding that I want to walk out of it and then move into photography. How did that happen? Now, you started to tell me and narrate that you were liking and you were collecting and all of this. How did profession of photography just happen? Because if I see your credentials, you are a ASP, ASA member, you have a lot of accreditation to yourself. You have a lot of qualifications that you've done. You're already explorer of light, which not many people get to do that. Parents' Choice Awards and so forth. Photography formally, how did it started coming to you?
Oh, well, I took courses so I was going to school for accounting, but I was a hobbyist photographer. The photography kind of started in boarding school. So I went to a boarding school because I was a naughty teenager. This is a fact. I was a terrible student. I was like a D student. My parents were like, "You have got to get through school." I hated school. So in boarding school, we were bored all the time because you're in boarding school. And so we would take photos.
Okay.
So that's kind of how, just amateur photos on little 110 cameras. And then when I graduated, my actual graduation gift was a sewing machine because I love to sew.
Oh,
And my mom sewed. Yes, I love to sew. So that was a big deal that I got a sewing machine and I could sew. That was a big hobby of mine. I also rode horses. So I grew up with an Argentine father. So you ride horses. So I rode horses as a hobby. And when I graduated high school, I would just keep buying better cameras. Well, I saw someone taking a course at school for photography, and they were developing their own film. So I thought that would be way cheaper to learn how to develop my own film than sending it in and paying for it. It's expensive. What I realize is it's even more expensive developing your own film. So you just keep buying the paper and the solution. And so I just started taking photography courses. And I got to tell you, I felt like I understood nothing. I remember taking the test on aperture, and I didn't understand how a low number, wide aperture. I could not get that for years. The math, even though I went to school for accounting, it didn't make sense. Small hole, big hole, small number. I did not understand that. And there was a lot of technical I just did not get. But I just figured out how to use my camera, and I would just take class after class after class. I'd literally have to go back and tell you how many classes I took because I really don't know. But over the course of 8 years, I took a lot of courses. Okay. And so much so, there was a pivotal moment when I moved from east to west. One of the first things I did, I was living in Huntington Beach. I went to Golden West College. They had an equestrian program. So I joined the equestrian program so I could ride. And they taught me how to jump, and that's where I learned jumping. They had a therapeutic riding center where you could teach kids how to ride horses that had special needs. And I loved working with kids that had challenges, whether they were had autism or on the spectrum or they were paralyzed. You could put them on a horse and the horse knew who they were and they would ride. And they had a newsletter and they would take photos for the newsletter. And I said, I'm an amateur photographer. I can contribute and take some photos for this newsletter and help you with the newsletter. So they said, great. So I donated my time to that in between riding horses. Well, then I discovered Golden West College had photography courses. And I was like, oh, I'm just enroll in another photography course. I've taken this course before. Mind you, I'm now 29.
Okay.
The kids that are taking this course are 18, 19, 20. Now, I look young, but I don't look 10 years young.
Oh, yes, you do.
The professor was not very nice and gave me a hard time. And we had to choose a portfolio assignment. Your portfolio had to be a collaboration of still life, portraiture, fine art, etc., with a common theme.
Okay.
What do you like? I like to ride horses. Okay. I go to photograph horses. Turns out I'm really terrible at photographing horses. I develop it. He's like, this is garbage. I was like, well, I like to ride horses, but I can't photograph them. He said, well, what do you love? At the time, I used to hand color prints with oils. I like to hand color. Okay, you're going to create a portfolio and all of those subjects are going to be hand colored prints. Okay. To do this means you have to print at a lower level of contrast or the oils won't work. So when you're talking about, I'm trying to make this a short story, black, white, and gray, the blacks can't be too dense or the oil, you won't be able to see the colors. So every time I came out of the darkroom, my tonality was 20% less than everybody else because he would forget that mine was a hand-colored assignment and I had to print with a lowered tonality. Okay, so the whole semester long, I'm fighting with this guy. The man I married, who I'm no longer with, is like, I don't know why you're taking this class because you don't like him. He doesn't like you. Do you? You don't even need this class. You kind of know what you're doing.
Oh, my God.
All right, you're right. The semester's over. I like printing. Blah, blah. This man is probably the reason of why I'm here today. And if I'd have to look up his name to tell you. At the end, I hand my portfolio like, I'm done. I'm over it. He looks through it and he looks at me straight in the eye. He said, I have been trying to figure out all semester long why you're here. Oh, I get shaky thinking of this place. And he said, I haven't talked about this in so long. It's like getting me emotional. He said in my face, if you're looking for someone to give you permission to go do what you're born to do, this is it. Go do it.
No. Oh, that seriously feels.
Yeah, I haven't said this story in a long time.
And how did you take it? Because it's like 18 years, other students, you 29, you're having this complex thing that you're going through. I mean, I just want to understand that mentally what you were feeling, what was giving you courage?
I don't even think I responded. I think I just said thank you and left. And I was gifted an enlarger and I made the spare bedroom a dark room. And I just started developing my own film. And shortly after I quit my job and it was a very lonely time because I had left all my family. So I had no family, no friends, only the man that I married. And it was very difficult on a personal, spiritual level. It was a very lonely time. And I just remember a lot of walks on the beach by myself. Luckily, I enjoy being alone, but it was an odd, lonely time. And I'm super grateful that it was probably one of the loneliest times of my life because I just put my camera up and just went for it.
Did the Anna then at the beach, if I take you back there, down the memory lane, has brought you the strength that you have today? The aura that makes you now?
100%.
I'm telling you.
Huntington Beach, California is where my son was born. I was actually pregnant when I was developing film and I didn't know it. And I was pregnant when I was jumping horses and didn't know it. And he always tells people that the reason he is the way he is because his mom was in the chemicals. Yeah, because I think that sometimes there's too much noise. I said to the students earlier today, stop asking permission, just do it. And I think because I didn't have my mom or my dad except a phone call away or my siblings or the noise of the house or my best friends that I grew up with, And I didn't have anybody, and the man that I married was, like, not around, and all of a sudden I was like, "Why am I across the world by myself?" And now I just quit my job, and I remember when I quit, I cried for, like, 3 days, and, like, I am, like, all by myself. I don't even know how to pump gas because in the East, they pump the gas for you. And so I didn't really feel like I knew where I was. I just was like, but it was almost, if you think about it, the adoption. Because when you're adopted, it's like, you're here and now you're there. This is your home, go live. And so then it was like, you're in New York, now you're in California, go. And it was almost like God going, nope, I picked you here and I'm putting you here. And then I'm going to pick you here and I'm going to put you here. And you're just going to go. And I think that I didn't think about that. This is in retrospect. But I know I'm a survivor, and I just went. And I think that the reason people hesitate so much is they just think so much. I'm one of those people, I would just go do it. And it's not always the right thing, because I'll make a mistake and have to go do it again. And sometimes Alex will be like, okay, you need to take a step. We got to think about this, talk about it, have a meeting. And I'll just go. But if I wasn't that way, I would not be sitting here today. And I mean, you know, I was telling the students yesterday, when I was first asked to speak in China, and I was like, I'm a Puerto Rican girl from New York. I'm in China. How did that happen? You know, like, and they're asking me about marketing. I'm like, you're asking me about marketing? I'm in China. I don't even know how I got here. How do you even know who I am?
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't go on this journey so people would know me. I didn't even know who I was at the time. The Brandt was a married name. But I think it's just one foot in front of the other. And when you realize that you're on this path, you just go, and you've got to listen to the voices. You have to. There have been many, many days where I'm just sitting there going, what now? And you just listen, wait, pause, and you go.
Lovely, lovely. I think the introduction was really, really good because it gave all of us a lot of strength.
Yes.
So, my takeaway from the introduction is be bold, be decisive, and definitely feel that you're enough. So, there'll be times where you'll be lonely. The moment you feel you're enough, just go ahead. That is going to be a wonderful golden nugget for my audience. Falguni, I'll come to you. I've understood what Anna is. Now, I would like to know from you. I have done some research, and you've got to give me some brownie points and marks for this.
Okay, Hari, I'm coming to your studio all the time.
So, I'll fill in the news for you. So, you seem to have visualized, and the universe conspired, and that's how somehow photography came to your lap as a career.
Yes.
Tell me your story.
Yes. Yeah, so
Do you know about her story, Anna? I mean, how I'm sure you might. You guys must have had.
different ways.
yeah.
So I'm excited to hear it again.
Give me a very heartfelt one.
Yeah, so I come from a family where I'm raised by a single parent, my mom. And we have had a lot of hardships and, struggles to earn respect. And we have had a lot of rejections because my father not being there. Well, I'm sorry if I get emotional.
Yeah, it's okay.
So for me, we have had days when, like mom wanted to give up. But it was me who, in my head as a child, always thought that I'm born to shine. It was just my thing. And I always question myself, that when is it that I'm going to shine? Is God have to show me more, to shine? So I've gone through a lot of rough patch, and somehow, I got myself together. We are three sisters and raised by a very strong woman. And I love listening to Anna's mom stories because that also gives me a lot of strength and courage, because it's another perspective from another culture, but it's the same that, you have to believe in yourself and you will find your path. And and just today we met my mom, and I was just sharing with Anna that my mom was a spiritual healer in her young days. Like, she has healing hands. And for me, the challenge was that I had to prove it to myself, and I wanted the whole world to respect my mom. That was it. And I worked really, really hard to get there. And in the whole process, I'm a graphic designer by profession. So everything was hard. I worked for McDonald's and paid my graphic designing fees. I went to UK. Like I didn't have money, but I wanted to, we have this thing that you could complete the final year in UK, my design school. I didn't have the money. Someone who was supposed to sponsor me didn't sponsor me. And like every time back to square one. And I used to have a dialogue that, like, what is it? Like, what is it that is going to be big for me? So, but, like, I believe that there's something that is waiting for me. And then like, how you say, when you're focusing, things attract. And like, I truly believe that the universe is listening. So dream big. And I'm a big dreamer from childhood. Like, I was the one who, like, I don't know, but I'm going to shine. I don't know still. But there's something, that I think that is that power that keeps you going. And it's the inner voice, like, you have to hear. And you have to have patience with yourself also and not be hard on yourself. When I was 18, like, we just needed money and I had to, pay my college fees and all. So joined McDonald's, and McDonald's really molded me and, gave me that foresight and, following standards, following systems. So technically that was my first exposure to, working in restaurant, but following corporate standards, following international
What
standards.
was your role in McDonald's?
So I joined as a crew
Okay.
and then got promoted as a hostess. Used to do birthday parties, and then I used to work with the owner. She was head of the local store marketing team. So then we were in the LSM department, and I think that really gave me the confidence of talking to people, the customer care, and that gave me a little idea about brand and all, because we were trained in certain way and following American standards and all. So when I look back, like in my past, like, I'm trained by Germans, trained by Americans, trained by Australians, and like made in India. So, so yeah, very proud where I come from, and like just fast forwarding. I was working in the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, like very nice, glamorous job and everything. We had everything and German bosses, and we had a free hand of doing things. Like I also used to, art direct corporate films and things like that. And we used to go for offsites, and my boss was very fond of taking us to, like exotic places. And I used to, be the camera person. And I used to love taking portraits and solos and all. So at work, when we used to download the folders, like everybody needed Falguni's folder or like to take pictures home.
It happened organically.
Yes, it was very organic, and like I was anyways like good successful designer and all, but not getting creative satisfactions, because with the Germans, like you have to just follow the guidelines, and there is like you can't go out of the guidelines. So there was no creative satisfaction, and I did it for like more than 15 years, and I was looking for something. And meanwhile, like I was doing pictures because my husband got me a camera, and and suddenly, like, I had to do a picture for my friend's daughter, and she had eczema. And I didn't know how to edit pictures. Like, I was a graphic designer, but really didn't know how to use Photoshop for pictures. Like, I would design on Photoshop. And that's when I Googled how to do skin edits for newborns. And that's when Anna started popping.
Okay.
And that was the first time I saw her. And I think that day, like, and then, like I did that video, and then I kept on, researching and then seeing other videos of Anna. So I like got into the rabbit hole. Like all of us, we make fun of, we have a group in the US, and we all very close, Anna's core group. And we say we are in the rabbit hole because it's never ending and learning is never ending. Like we say, you have to be lifelong learners. And that Anna introduced a conference in that year. And it was an expensive conference. Now it's very cheap. In those days, like, we're paying like $2,000 to get there. And all by myself, I didn't know anybody. Like, not a soul. I didn't know if I really want to do this business, but I was very fascinated seeing her on, YouTube. And online, I had bought a course because I thought I should, do something. So before going for the conference, I also took an online course. My first course was how to sell yourself.
Oh, okay.
So, and with all the McDonald's, and she actually gave McDonald's example in that would you want to be, doing fine dining, or would you want to go at McDonald's? So you decide whether you want to be a photographer who is giving services for fine dining or for McDonald's. So for me, it was clear, oh my God, like she's the one.
Yeah.
And I went, and it was like meeting a Disney princess or something. And I literally told her that, like I have been watching you since 2015 and meeting her in 2017, like in person. That conference changed my life because the first keynote that she said, I was sobbing because there was so much that I wanted to do and I couldn't because of financial constraints or whatever. But when I went for that conference, I was very financially well off, like, very good with my career and married, a mother of, 7-year-old already. And I like, even in my design school, I wanted to do photography, but I didn't have the money to do photography because I was finding it very difficult to pay my design fees. So I had this in my mind, the day when I have money, I want to learn photography and excel. I didn't know which genre or anything, but this genre really, like, was heartfelt, and like I think it was my calling. And the way the trainers and the mentors presented was like in depth, and it was one of its kind, and the first one.
When were you actually attending the keynote speaking?
2017, May.
2017 you're talking of. Oh my God, we're talking about 8 years.
Yes.
And the association is so strong.
So, I want to tell you that I just like, resonated with her. I loved her style, and I loved her because she is like, I have trained with more than 51 newborn photographers internationally. And I found that, I need to follow one mentor and follow that path. And I just like one step at a time. And I, year after year, I, went and invested like this doll. For the first time I saw at the summit, and I think that's where she launched it. Sandra Moffat, she designed this doll. And that's when I realized that if I want to do newborn photography, that was the first prop I bought at the conference, and that was the most expensive prop. Like, I didn't buy headbands, I didn't buy bowls, wraps, nothing. At that, and then I took a lifetime membership of her online education because that's what I felt that, this is not enough. Like, 3 days of conference, there's lots to learn. And it's a huge industry by itself, like the props, the equipment, and everything. So, and that was like the turning point of my life. And in 2018, I quit my job, and same thing, my bosses were wondering. And like, still, my bosses, like, they say, you can come back. And I just last month messaged my boss, and I said, you remember you telling me, I'm very proud to tell you I'm an author now. Because in my job, I used to design books for my boss, like we had a publication, and I used to design the bi-monthly publication. And now, like, I'm designing my own book, writing my own book, and all dedicated to my mentor.
So you decided on your niche for newborn is when Anna happened to you.
Yes.
Kind of found her.
So I love babies because, like you mentioned about your niece. So my niece is like my first baby, and she's like literally a copy of me. Like, she's literally me. She's an Aries. I'm an Aries. We have same tantrums, and she's much more prettier than me. But like, how you feel? So that's when with her, like, I used to have this small, digital initial cameras that we had, a Sony. And I used to like just after work, I used to just come and take pictures. That's it. And I had like lots of pictures. And then my son was born after 4 years, and and then my friend asked, and then this whole editing thing happened. That means then I was getting professional. And I realized that if you need to get ahead, you need to educate yourself. So investing in myself, investing in education. and, like chasing a mentor was the thing.
So they say that if you have a very strong drive to learn something and you are looking at upskilling yourself, your guru comes to you.
Yes.
And I have read this thing in a book somewhere, and I was so clear about it because when my entry happened in media, my guru came to me in the form of the CEO. And till date, the practices that I follow with my company and the people around me are all flowing from the guru. So yes, it matters a lot to have a mentor in life. I'll move to you, Anna. You have a studio in Tustin, California. Now here you've been doing a lot of in-studio and in-home newborn shoots. How do you balance yourself between, celebrity clients and family clients? I mean, this is kind of little different for our audiences to understand.
Yeah. Oh, it's a process. It's a journey. It's a, you know, before I started traveling, I was only teaching in my studio. And I was doing maternity, newborn, children, family, and home sessions and celebrity when they came. And then most recently, I've cut down a lot. I do not do in-home sessions anymore unless it is a celebrity. Usually that's decided well in advance. That's usually not a last minute thing. There's usually more prep time with that. So I know in advance. And if it is a celebrity, you kind of clear the day. I've cut down. I no longer do commercial work. I used to do commercial work. I started cutting out mini sessions from my clientele, except for if it's like an existing clientele. Some of these kids I've known forever. I don't really do senior photography, but I did a senior session right before I came here that I did her birth. So my kind of rule is with seniors is that unless that teen says, I need Anna to do my senior shoots, I don't do it. So I just do a couple of a year. I don't really promote them because I don't want to encourage it. So I've cut down a lot of, I used to shoot, even last year, I was shooting 8, 9, 10-hour days and then jumping on a plane. And I would go to Brazil, teach, and literally come back straight from the airport and go right into session. I'm known for doing that because I sleep on a plane. I would literally change and I'm in session and my clients were like, were you just in Brazil? I'm very discreet when I travel. Unless you're really following me, you don't even really know that I'm out of the country. Sometimes people looking at the stories, you have to understand that while I'm here, there's people posting that I'm going to the Netherlands. There's people posting that I was in Scotland, that I was in Norway. Because I have an international audience, sometimes people really have no idea where I am. Because of the safety of my children, I am a single mom now. I try not to advertise when I'm getting on a plane, especially the way the world is these days. You won't see me taking photos of me entering or exiting the
Very
plane.
mindful.
Yes, and that's very intentional. The safety of my children is very important. So many times my clients will just look at me and be like, were you just in Japan? I think you were in Japan yesterday. How is that possible? And I quite often laugh because I was like, I was there, but maybe that was a week ago. Maybe that was, no one really knows. I'm very careful about my schedule. I'm very respectful of my clients' privacy. There's a lot of celebrities that I photographed that I sign NDAs for, I don't talk about. I think that is super important to be respectful of your clients, whether they are a celebrity or not. I have very ordinary clients that would like me to not post their images or things like that. I time block, I manage my time, and I try to book ahead of time. I plan things for the right season. This is a slow season back east, back west, wherever, somewhere. Back west. So I knew this was a good time to come. So I'm obviously not going to come during Christmas time. So I have rearranged my schedule as I've grown in my career. I've also realized I don't need to do everything. I don't need to shoot everything. I've cut back on a lot of things. But also, I think you know that I'm cutting back on my teaching. And this tour is the last year that I'll be teaching maternity and newborn on a basic level.
Okay.
The reason is I felt like number one, I do love photography. I love my clients. I love the families that have trusted me all these years. And I do want to continue doing that. But also, there's a lot of personal projects that I want to do, a lot of countries that I still want to visit, books I want to finish writing, AI technologies I want to master. And so my teaching next year will be at a higher level of mentoring, small coaching, and working with AI technologies. And then the trainers that I've been working with for the past years, they can take on that basic introductory, intermediate level they like. There's still a great need for it, but I feel like I need to kind of pull out of it and take myself to a different level.
Delegate and elevate yourself towards other
Exactly.
meaningful stuff. Interesting.
Because
And
you
to
can
have
learn out.
your pedigree ready.
She's ready. She's more than ready. She's exceeded all of my expectations. It's not like I really had any expectations. I wanted people that wanted to teach. That's my only expectation for any trainer. You know, sometimes people come to me and go, "Do you think I can train?" I go, "It's not about do I think you can train, do you want to train?" Because there's a big difference. Because when I started training 18 years ago, I had no idea what I was doing. And I've grown so much because of the people that I've trained. I think that you do that along the way, right? So I don't think that you need a certain qualification to train. You've got to be willing to train and not gatekeep. And to not gatekeep means you check your ego at the door and you wish that whoever you're training succeeds at a level higher than you. That's the whole point. And there's a lot of people not willing to do that.
There are some interesting, fascinating works around the celebrities that you've been doing. Any interesting names of the days when you were planning with them, it turned out really well. You were like overtly happy that, yes, this turned out so well.
Yes.
You would want to share some of those
Oh,
stories.
it kills me. It kills me.
I do know there's someone who is a fabulous actress here, made a mark there, got married, and settled down in America. You've done the deeds there as well,
Yes,
right?
yes. It is, you know, when a celebrity hires you, it definitely, and you've experienced this, it definitely gives you the confidence that someone believes that you know what you're doing. And in a world where we're always questioning, do we know what we're doing?
I was very nervous for my first Bollywood.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes even just with non-celebrity clients, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
We are anyways a little, anxious and nervous because we are handling a newborn for the safety reason.
For sure.
So every time we step out for a newborn session, we anyways do a small prayer.
Yeah.
So every time it's that pressure of, not performing, but also following the safety protocols. That's like our major anxiety and pressure.
Yeah. And the celebrity just kind of elevates that a little bit. I was telling the students today that you've got to be quick because with a celebrity, you really don't have much time. You got to get in, get the shot, and get out. So you need to know your camera gear, lighting, your subject, and you have to go.
So the pressure is 2x. The expectations is 5x.
You have to know your job and you have to do it well because they're not there to be best friends with you. There's been many celebrity shoots where we don't do selfies. The phone is at the door or in my bag. It's off. No one knows where I am. You're going in, you're asked to do the job and you leave. Done. And if they can't respect you and trust you, they're not going to hire you, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And it is tough because you want to go, look where I am. And you can't.
Yeah.
But that's part of being a grown-up and respecting the craft.
Totally. Now, you've been a pioneer in designing maternity gowns sold worldwide. How do you approach with this kind of a storytelling and styling for celebrity shoots vis-a-vis the newborn moms, handling theirs? So designing into something like this, which is maternity gowns, how did that happen? And how has that extended into your business and your brand?
Well, that just happened because nobody was making anything of any kind 26 years ago.
Thank God. Thank God.
So 26 years ago, I would go to the stores, Macy's, Nordstrom, JCPenney, a lot of stores that don't even exist anymore, The Gap, and I would go to the clearance section, the maternity section, the plus section, and I would buy discounted robes, gowns. I used my own lingerie for my honeymoon that I never wore, robes, silky robes. And I would drape the women with like robes and camisoles. For the babies, I would go to the Gap counter, and the Gap counter used to have a bowl of these diaper covers that were lost from the outfits, and they would sell them in a bowl for $5. I would go when I want to buy the whole basket. And they would go, why do you want to buy the whole basket of these mismatched diaper covers? And I would say, because I'm a newborn photographer and I don't want to hide the diaper anymore. I'm hiding the diaper with a fabric and that there's nothing else to do. We were basically following Ann Geddes' early work, which was just nude, black and white photography and just fabric. And for maternity, most of my early work was nude sheets, fabric. I laugh that some of the styles now are exactly what I started my career with.
Okay.
They're minimalist. And so one of my first maternities was with a sheet off my bed. And so I would then go to fabric stores. Remember, I sewed and my mom was a seamstress as a hobby. And so I would go to fabric stores and I would literally wrap material around me and be like, does this hug my thighs? Does it hide the cellulite? And the women in the stores would always be like, what are you doing? And I was like, I need to understand the material. And they taught me, okay, this is polyester. It's going to cover a lot of things. This is silk. It's going to fly in the air. And I learned fabric between my mom and the women selling the fabric in the stores. So I would just buy fabric by the yard. Give me 2 yards, give me 5 yards. I would rip it, tear it. To this day, I still tear fabric. It drives my seamstress crazy. And I would just go to the studio and clip it on women. And I would literally rip it and I would just wrap it around their bra.
Because you had sewing as your hobby, did that skill help you?
Yes, definitely. I had a mom who sewed our clothes. She sewed our costumes. She sewed our curtains. She sewed everything. But that was that era. They would cook, they would do everything. And, my grandmother would, mend our clothes. I mean, that was what I grew up with. And we didn't have a lot of money. And so if your clothes ripped, you wouldn't buy new, you would mend it, right? And so I would get hand-me-downs, and so the hand-me-downs would be too big. And so, they would sew. And so nobody was selling anything like this. So it just started with me ripping fabric. And then when I was pregnant with Olivia, who's now 22, a friend that I had met at a market, a fair that I had a booth at. So my booth was just a table showing my photography. The woman at the booth next to me, I'll never forget her name, is Amy. She was selling children's clothing that she had made herself. And I was just the whole day looking at her going, I have these diaper covers that I'm buying from the Gap. Do you know someone that could make a pattern of a diaper cover so I could sew a diaper cover?
Okay.
And she said, yes, I know pattern makers. And I took the diaper cover from the Gap to the pattern makers and said, can you cut a pattern so I can sew a diaper cover? And I sewed the first diaper cover. And that's how it all began. And then I would just rip fabric and clip. And that's how I started on YouTube, was showing videos of how to clip fabric to a pregnant woman. And then when I finally had my third child and I hired a nanny, the nanny ended up leaving in Germany, but said she had a niece, fill in for her. Long story short, the niece could sew. And I said, I've been clipping fabric to pregnant women. If I can't draw, but if I draw something and show you my clippings, can you make a dress for me? Now I'm 3 kids in, I don't have time to sew or make things. And she said, I can. And that's how it started, just one dress at a time.
Step by step, innovation came to your mind and it just started happening.
I still, to this day, I just look at fabric, think about it, go to my seamstress. I still can't draw. My drawings are hilarious. She looks at me, looks at my drawings, and we just piece it together.
Lovely, lovely.
And my clients know. They'll say, do you have something I can wear? And I say, I do, and if I don't, we'll make it.
Falguni, in your career so far, could you come across some episode like this where you've also done the same thing in India? Something of innovation, some creativity where you spot on just decide, okay, let me do something like this.
Yeah, so I work very closely with Nishka Lulla, and I did both her children, and her mom is a fashion icon in India.
Yes.
Neeta ma'am, and they are like family now. And Neeta ma'am used to tell me that I really like your work after like some time. And when you're going to a celebrity's home, you are a little overwhelmed and a little careful of what you talk and what you say. So I used to talk bare minimal and But Nishka got very friendly. And when this whole AI thing happened, and Neeta ma'am told me that, Falguni, how does this AI thing work? Like, I see you're doing and now you're teaching and all. And I didn't know that she's like, seeing my Instagram. And I just once mentioned to her that, I would love to do like a royal maternity with you. Whenever you have the time, you can stay. So she had that in her mind, and I had told her like a year ago. And she's like, let's do something with AI and the royal maternity that you were talking about. And I was like, yeah, when do you want to do it? And it was so sweet of her. Like, she just gave me a date, and, I had my whole crew. We hired a studio and everything. And it was amazing. We did 10 looks in one day. And I think that nobody in India has done that. And, when I put the first reel out, she was the first one to comment. Gorgeous. And for me, it's like, I don't need any other validation.
It was gorgeous.
And it was so Indian, and the way she draped, and working with her was also another big learning. Like, she is a legend in her industry, and she was so down to earth. And she's like, she's draping and she's saying, do you know I talk to my fabrics? And she actually did. Like, I knew that she says she talks to her fabric, but when she was draping, she was talking to the fabric.
So much into your craft.
Yeah. And like, I have seen Anna draping, because Anna is draping, like, georgettes and, chiffons and all that. It's very easy. But she draped a heavy temple sari. And then there was one sari with a sequence. And we were very lucky that we got a Slovenian pregnant woman who is married to an Indian. And she was all for me. And there was this sequence sari. So, like Neeta ma'am said, that she can't carry this. She's pregnant. Let's do a laying pose. And then, I was not prepared for my lighting. And, like, thank God Dilip was there. And, like, Dilip has always saved me. And, then they gave the, the boom stand and all that. And we did, she laying and all that. And I think that is one of my most favorite image, because I couldn't have even thought of doing that angle at that point.
But being open to it is so key, because that's when things come to you.
No, because I was like, it's Neeta Lulla and I can't let her down. I said, yeah, I'll do it. We didn't have a step-up stool or something, but then you had that, cleaning stool, and I was on it. And then my assistant was holding the stool. And then we had to be careful because it's a pregnant woman. So, like, my camera should not fall on her. So all that what she had taught me was like, in my brain.
Coming to you.
And it is all, but see, like, I how you say that in my free time, I do the online school that I'm member of. So, when you get, situations like this, you're hands on. So I think that, you have to be prepared. You don't know where you get opportunities and who is watching you.
So both of you are photographers, come celebrity photographers, come educators now, and you're building a community.
Correct.
Where do you see 2025, 26, and 2030 flowing? How's the market?
Well, AI has changed everything.
Yeah.
AI has changed everything. AI will continue to change everything. We're both at levels where we just want to take it to the next. I have thousands in my community, and Falguni is the only one that has come close to my level of working with AI technologies, even though I've trained thousands in it. She's the only one that is right next to me, not behind me, not in front of me, right next to me. And we're learning together. There's things I learned, there's things she's learned. We're talking about it. It's not a competition, anything. It's like, look what can be done. We can automate, we can create, we can build, we can develop. And so it is therapy. It's fascinating what can be done with our imagination. And while most people in the industry are complaining about AI, complaining about the industry, complaining, we're just quietly building.
It's just quiet. So she gave me an opportunity to speak in 2020 when we just started AI. In 2022, we did a conference and I was teaching AI, and that was like my first time teaching in the US. and it was a very new subject, and that really gave me the push of exploring more. And because sometimes when you have downtimes, now AI, like I do AI in my downtime, because that really rises your confidence and all that. Oh, I created this.
Constant learning till date.
Yes.
And both of you are progressively creating courses, modifying them, going to several countries, educating and moving on. So I was coming to the fact that both of you are photographers, come celebrity photographers, come building communities, and you are seeing across the world how it's going. The niche of newborn and maternity, are there anything about do's and don'ts? It looks beautiful. It looks pure soul. Now, how do you handle this? Let me get into the technicalities very quickly with both of you. Your perspective, Anna, and then your
I
perspective.
need 3 days for this answer.
Quick fix that.
Okay, I think one of the things that I try to tell my students all the time is you have to not only be a master at your craft, but the most knowledgeable about your subject.
Okay.
You're dealing with the tiniest, youngest human beings on the planet. For newborn, for maternity, you're dealing with the fastest growth in a human body's life. Within 9 months, we are building a human being in our body, and it's going to go like that. Both of these need to be handled with the utmost safety and respect, care, and concern, and can't be just thrown with caution to the wind. And so this is why we're so passionate about educating. We've both written books on safety. Is that when why I'm so passionate about teaching is to help others, to let them know, no, you don't keep your camera on your body while you're picking up a newborn. Yes, this is a heavy piece of equipment. Yes, the mom needs to eat before she has a photo session so she doesn't pass out. And you've just got to have respect and care and knowledge for your subject. And to the students today, I said, you don't go to a pediatrician and he looks around like he doesn't know where to put the baby, or he doesn't know what he's doing, or you take your baby and run. When you go to the pediatrician, you expect them to be fully prepared to care for this baby. When you go to your gynecologist, you expect that she's fully knowledgeable. Well, you have to be the same.
Okay. Your version.
Yeah, so for me, safety comes first, and that's what I have learned from day one in newborn photography. Hence the book Love, Care, and Safety, dedicated to my mentor and my mom. And I think there is lots more than just cute pictures. It's a whole responsibility, and like you have to understand that you're dealing with pure souls. And I think that's the best job you can have, because when you hold a baby, you get that joy because it's a pure soul. You're not getting any negative aura. So I personally feel that, whatever you're going through, but when I had that newborn in my hand, it's like I'm just in that zone. And it's very calming, it's very spiritual, it's very comforting. And just an advice to everyone that understand the science behind a newborn, handling safety and all, and then, look into investing in props, gear, and everything. First, do you think you have love for the newborn? Because you have to literally treat it like your own. So that's something, it's all have to be done with love, care, and safety.
So rightly mentioned. So for layman's, to understand photography, it's a vast subject. Okay, there's wildlife photography to documentary photography to celebrity photography to coming to fashion photography. All these formats are of from the photographer side. It's observing, understanding your subject and your character. And I know both of you say that we should say it's pure life and pure soul. You should not say it's a subject. But the way layman's perceive is this fabulous music going in the background, and there are shutter stops, happening, and there's loud music, and then you say, switch, 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 come on, show me some drama. Now, how do you expect that from a new life? It's a total different method, right?
Yes, the maternity sessions are quite like that, by the way. With maternity sessions, sometimes you put music on, you're tossing fabric, you're posing, and you're lots of energy. With newborn, you're just kind of like, okay.
Don't cry. We so
our energy low because it's all the vibe thing and the energy is like even in the 2 days workshop, and I had to tell the students that you have to sit down because that's when the baby is also getting that energy of like being active, or because there's a lot of commotion around. So even when we are shooting at home or in studio, you need to have that energy down. Like me being an Indian, I'm always chanting Gayatri mantra in my head, or like chanting Om, or Hanuman Chalisa or something, whatever comes, because I think all these mantras also give a good vibe, and the baby calms down. And there are a lot of people who message me and ask, are you sedating the baby when we see your reels? And I'm like, guys, we don't do something like this. So, like there is a way you handle things and to calm the baby, like hundreds of things that she explained. And for me, like I have done like, I don't know how many workshops with Anna and assisted her like wherever globally. And the constant thing that she has been teaching is how to calm. And every time I have attended a workshop, I have learned something new. Like even today, like I am a trainer, but there's so much that I learned in these 2 days.
It's ever learning process. So what I understand and what I'm taking away is that even so that we say that it's a very new and a pure life that we are talking about, we are handling it, it's a very technically profound subject, and the student has to be very selective about taking this niche. But once you've decided that you have experts like you and you helping the students to take over this, we move to our conclusory subject, which is revolving around businesses and MSMEs. So here in India, we categorize as per the government MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises. And within that spectrum, a lot of different categories people can come into. So when it comes to photography as a business, what is your take? What are your do's and don'ts, if you have to say, simply put, you should do or you should be very mindful about?
Have a contract,
Have a contract,
have a business license,
business license,
have insurance.
insurance.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of new photographers that come out and they're just like, well, I'm a hobbyist and I'm just going to take your photo and, off we go. And it's like, do you have insurance? No, not yet. Do you have a business license? No, not yet. Did you do a contract? No, my client didn't show up. My client didn't pay. My client, we hear stories on social media every day. And it's always contract, license, insurance. Like you're still a business. We're grown-ups. We're still a business.
Yes.
And this is a baby business. It's a baby business. And because I had two parents that were self-employed parents and were business-minded, I think I've always been business-minded. As much as we love these little creatures, it's a business. And you have to respect it and treat it like a business. It's just that simple. You have to get paid for your job. And you need to deliver the product just like any other business. And I think that that is a challenge with sometimes people go, well, I just love it. I don't need the money. Or this is a side hustle. Or I'm learning. It's like, but you're taking a human being in your hands and posing them in something that was not meant to pose a baby unless it was a prop made, and you need to follow guidelines and safety and have an assistant and keep things clean. And there were so many times today where I just had to tell the students to sit down and stop talking. It's like, but all of that goes in the fact that it's a business. Any business has guidelines, rules, procedures. Whether you're serving, burger in McDonald's, which by the way, when I do use the McDonald's as an example, I say it's a $1 billion business. I am not discounting McDonald's. There is a purpose and a reason McDonald's is so successful with their formula. The problem with that is don't say you want to be fine dining, but have McDonald's pricing, right? And so that's where that analogy comes in. But it's just, at the end of the day, it's a business. And as much as I love you and love your baby, I still need to get paid for the work that I'm doing. And I'm not your best friend. If we become best friends, that's a bonus.
That's a bonus.
But it's a
Be
business.
true to your craft and ensure that, yes, you are having a living out of it.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Your piece of advice.
Yeah, so considering more in India, newborn photography business has like just boomed in last 4 years. Like everybody wants to do newborn photography, and you see I do a event, annual event for newborn photographers, and we had students who were 18 years old, and that student was from Nagpur, and she's a good photographer, but the feedback that she gave after the event was that I was not aware of half of the things he said on the stage. So, it's very important that, yeah, you own a business. Newborn photography is very attractive, but don't forget that it's a serious business. And yes, we need to have contracts. We need to respect privacy, which India, like, people are not even aware. Yeah. I will just give you one example, and it's a very emotional example. So one of my students from Ahmedabad had shot a session with the couple who was expecting a baby who passed away in the plane crash. And a very sweet student and a very successful photographer in Ahmedabad, she uploaded a story. So she shot with them on 10th, and the crash was on 12th. And I'm sure we don't deliver images in like 2 days. Yeah.
Right.
So she immediately posted on 13th saying that, and there was this news clipping that, this family lost their life. And so I was very devastated, even like seeing that. And the first thing that clicked me, I just put the phone down and called her. I said, bring the story down. First is humanity. Second is respect the death. Third thing is you don't have the consent from the deceased.
Yes.
Yeah. And the fourth thing, imagine the family is grieving. God forbid if somebody loses their head, can come and, break your studio if they are,
Yeah.
any political background or whatever. So, and I like also mentioned you can't make an advertise out of it. So it was not her intention, but so ignorant about the subject. So she immediately put it down because the mentor has called, and she says, yes, ma'am, I agree to what you say. So this is what I feel that, India needs to learn in terms of business, to respect privacy and understand how deep it is. And imagine losing a baby in a womb in a plane crash. Oh my God. I couldn't sleep for nights. So I think this is something that the youngsters need to learn. It's not telling people that I shot with these people who are dead.
Yeah. No, my gosh.
Your story just makes me realize so clear that this is a very good space. It's growing and evolving in India, but there's still so much of gap that Anna, you need to come back more. And she just said, "This is my last gift." This is my. I was like yelling and convincing her that yes, you need.
I was in my head like, she's coming back. I know. I convinced her to come back.
So many people who need to understand this gap, and it's people only.
We have not given your farewell yet.
Yeah, that's right. So, great guys. We're kind of very of time, but it's amazing, Anna. There's so much of voyage of knowledge and wisdom that you've passed on to Falguni and many, many more. I think newborn industry of photography, a lot of credit goes to you. Thank you so much, and please pass on Renal. See, your Betty already has a book here.
Yes.
So
Amazing.
I'm sure there's lots to grow.
Yeah.
And it's so good that globally we are all coming together and connecting. And I'm hopeful our episode makes a lot of more new photographers coming out.
Responsible photographer.
Yes. Thank you to have you here, Anna. Thank you so much. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel to enjoy more such business podcasts and stories. Hit that like button and leave a comment to show some love.